So, good morning. Before I read the poem, I'm going to make an announcement. I'll do that first. And the announcement is that tomorrow afternoon, Friday afternoon, we'll be switching the times around. The group will be at 3:30 till 4:15, an hour later in Germany, and then at 4:30 till 5:15, we'll be having a closing ritual. So if you can just remember that. Okay. So today we're going to hear from Mitta. Mitta, friend. Full of trust, you left home and soon learned to walk the path, making yourself a friend to everyone and making everyone a friend. When the whole world is your friend, fear will find no place to call home. And when you make the mind your friend, you'll know what trust really means. Listen, I have followed this path of friendship to its end, and I can say with absolute certainty, it will lead you home. Just letting the sentiment of that poem reverberate through your being. Maybe a word, a line, an image. Just sitting with that. So we've spent quite a bit of time exploring the knowing aspect of mindfulness. And today I'd like to shift the focus more to the direct experience aspect of mindfulness. We learned that we're experiencing what's going on and we know what's going on. So this direct experience is really moving in close to what is actually there, what you're sensing, what you're feeling, what is reverberating, what is vibrant, what is alive. And this is, we can explore this, for example, in the mindfulness of breathing practice. It's quite different whether I watch the breath. Yeah, here's my breath. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Really, I'm really fascinated by the breath, and I'm watching it, and I'm watching it all the time, and I'm counting. And there may be images coming up around the breath, and I've really lovely images of the breath associated with the breath, ideas about the breath, but that is very different to being in the experience of breathing and discovering for ourselves, what is a breath? What does that mean? Yeah, what does it mean to breathe? So it's really diving into the actual felt experience rather than staying with the concept of the experience, or an idea about it, or a description about it, or an interpretation of it. I'm going to read you a few lines from Reginald Ray when in connection with this. Spirituality is letting go of our obsessive ideas of how great it is going to be someday and beginning to tune into what it is at this exact moment. And the way to do this is down. It's not up. It's down into the body, into the blood, into the feelings, into the sensations, into the emptiness of our being, our physical body. And when we do that, then the whole journey begins to happen in a very surprising, sometimes shocking and effortless way. So I would also like to add, it's down into the heart, it's down into the mind, the thinking, the emotions, the whole of our being, the senses. And today I'm going to explore a bit more how to be with direct experience. Might be shocking, might be a bit strange, might be uncomfortable, might be challenging. Who knows what we're going to find when we dare to dive down into what's actually there in the body, heart, mind. And the first thing that we need to do, the first step, hence the poem this morning, is to befriend our experience, especially our heart, mind. And I've talked about this, but I'm just going to pick it up again. Befriending means spending time with a friend, really getting to know her, seeing her as she is and not as we think she is or how we'd like her to be. So it's getting close and truly, sincerely interested. So we're putting aside our projections and ideas about this person or this object of our experience. And this links into seeing Sati as a friend and leads us to another quality of mindfulness, which is the quality of not staying on the surface. Sati is not like the leaf on the water, floating on the water on the surface. It's more like the stone that sinks down to the bottom, fully immersed in the water. So this is this fully immersed, without drowning or being lost, but we're in the actual experience. And we need to be in this experience, whatever it is, with love. Maitri Siddhi, I think 2 nights ago, in the evening that she led, talked about love. And mindfulness is really important. And I think she said she thinks love is even more important or vital. She probably didn't say important, vital, something like that. And yes, I mean, love, the first precept, it's the foundation of our ethical practice. It is the guiding principle of all the precepts. Yes, there's we can't do without it. There's a line by a teacher called Jill Fronsdale, and he says, nothing whatsoever is worth the cost of a contracted heart. And it is love that is going to open up our heart. It is friendship that is going to open up our heart. It is love and friendship that is going to connect us with one another, with life. And I was reflecting that our 2 basic practices, metta practice and mindfulness, what a stroke of genius to have these as our foundation practices. Metta carries the seed of compassion. Mindfulness carries the seed of wisdom. And it's a gift of Bhante, I think. In there is the teaching of more and more of less and less. Go deeper. And early this morning, I was reflecting on radicality, being radical. I just wanted to share a couple of these reflections with you. Bhante was radical, radical in his presentation of the Dharma, radical in breaking with tradition while remaining truthful, faithful to the essence of the Dharma, and radical in his insistence on uncovering the underlying principle. What's the principle? Not staying with form, not conforming. Our ordination is radical. The whole talk in there, but I can't go there now. And metta is radical. Tara Brach talks about radical acceptance, radical love. And Satipatthana is radical. It's a wisdom practice. And in Living Wisely, Bhante says, one cannot speak of wisdom in terms either of knowing or of feeling. It is both. And I found this really interesting, coming back to this statement, that in a way he's pointing us to knowing and directly experiencing what's there, and he's pointing us to the marriage of reason and emotion. A good source of reflection. And coming back to how we're going to engage with direct experience, I think probably sparked off by Virya D last night with the readings and with the mantras highlighting love, clarity, courage. What also came to mind this morning were the lines of the Ratnaguna Samchayagata. I'm just going to read them to you. Call forth as much as you can of love, of respect, and of faith. Remove the obstructing defilements and clear away all your taints. Listen to the perfect wisdom of the gentle Buddhas, taught for the weal of the world, for heroic spirits intended. Just beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. And I'd like to do a little exercise with you now, or it's a practice actually. And it's a practice that I've come across in the work of Kristin Neff and Christopher Germer on self-compassion. They've been doing really fantastic work on this whole area. And the role of self-metta, of love, of self-compassion, of trust and faith we should not underestimate that, how important that is. We are living in challenging, difficult times. On this retreat, it's maybe not what we wanted, it's not how we wanted it to be, it's not how we imagined it to be. Stuff is happening, life around us is happening, there's loneliness, we're missing friends, we're missing connecting, and maybe there's unsettledness, anxiety. COVID-19 is in a way coming closer. We know people, friends or family members who have COVID. And of course that's having an effect. How to hold this. There's also the expectations that we bring to our practice, to a retreat like this, expectations of ourselves, of our meditation, of the conditions, and expectations that manifest looking for special experiences or particular experiences that equal being on retreat, or that equal, oh, I'm good, this was good. The fact that we're here is good. That's enough. Our main focus on this retreat is not about having fantastic meditations or special experiences. It's about strengthening the continuity of mindfulness in the service of liberation. And that's why it applies to every minute of the day and night. And we also need self-compassion with regard to perhaps the emotional landscape that we're in at the moment. Perhaps there's some frustration because of disappointed expectations, the sadness, there's some fear, perhaps blame. And I'd like to suggest that how we hold these emotions right now, how we step towards them, is with self-compassion. And this is another practice where it requires us to be gentle, to be clear, to be courageous, and also to be wise. So we're just going to do this practice together now. So if you'd like to settle back, it'll be for maybe about 10 minutes, something like that. So make yourself comfortable, settle back. And just relax. Taking a couple of deeper breaths. And then look to see, is there anything in my experience right now that's uncomfortable, that's challenging? That's difficult. Might be on the physical level, emotionally, mentally, regarding circumstances around you. Just becoming aware of that and acknowledging it. And staying with the level of identifying it. This is what's going on. This is what's painful. You might like to touch some part of your body that offers your being a soothing touch, a hand on the heart, or folding your hands, or holding your arms, your hands on your upper arms. Sometimes people like to rub there, gives a sense of comfort. Whatever might give you in this moment a sense of comfort. And just breathing with whatever it is you've called to mind. Not going into it too deeply right now. Just acknowledge then, this is a moment of suffering. And then the next step is calling to mind, suffering is part of life. I'm not alone in this. The suffering of others might manifest differently. But at the end of the day, This is part of life. Everyone has difficulties, experiences discomfort, is challenged, feels unsettled, is afraid. Is worried at one time or another. And thirdly then, offer yourself a word or a gesture of kindness. A kindly whisper, there, it's all right. And then, if it feels appropriate for you, the fourth step could be just asking yourself, what can I do for myself right now to nourish and strengthen myself? This is broadening out a little bit from the present moment. Remembering you do have resources. You do have your practice. You do have your friends. Kristin Neff calls this a self-compassion break. And it's something that can be done in just a few minutes, a few moments. Just this step of mindfulness. Yeah, this hurts. This is challenging. Then connecting to common humanity. I'm not alone. And thirdly, meeting it with kindness. And fourthly, if you like, calling on the resources. What can I do for myself right now? And I think it's a fantastic tool to have in everyday life. And I've heard from some people that they've doing this, just this self-compassion break, this getting some more and more experience of that has helped them then with their metta practice. So that's just an offering. And why I'm stressing this support for today is because we're going to be turning to an area that is very challenging. Yeah, we thought thinking was challenging, didn't we? And now we're going to be mindful of emotions and mental states. And here too, just a word about what I introduced yesterday, the method of labeling or naming, which we can be using with regard to our emotions as well. The use of labeling and naming, we are using concepts there, but in the service of moving closer to the direct experience. So Satipatthana practice doesn't say, oh, we shouldn't be using concepts. There's a minimal use of concepts, but in the way I've just described. So it's not about, we're leaving behind more and more the conceptual level, but we're acknowledging to some degree concepts are helpful, but that's not what it's really about. So emotions, mental states then. This is the place where we most strongly identify with experience. I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm happy, I'm good, I'm bad. Yeah. We take our emotional world to be me. The experiences in our mind and heart, we readily, that's me. And it's like constructing a self on the shifting sands of experience. It's a bit deluded, isn't it? But that's what we do. And being with emotions in a mindful way is not, it's liberating. But it doesn't mean we're looking for freedom from the emotions, but freedom from complicating them, from getting entangled in them. So especially this area, it's a practice now more and more of disentanglement. We embarked on that yesterday with our practice of mindfulness of thinking, and it goes even deeper now. Disentangled mindfulness. And I'd really urge us to take the Buddha's teaching in the Satipatthana practice to heart, really applying the teachings now in regard to emotions and mental states, applying them to everything. Yeah, we are emotional beings. Yeah. And it's important to be in touch with our emotions, then we feel alive. But again, it's how are we relating to the emotions. And especially if there are emotions that are difficult or uncomfortable, we can quite quickly reach for a strategy to solve it. So I explain why I'm feeling like this, explain it to myself. Yeah. I analyze it, I even judge it, and then I rationalize it. And I haven't really got an inch closer to discovering its true nature. I haven't got an inch closer, a centimeter closer to experiencing it as a conditioned arising. I'm looking at it, from the side. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, feeling blame, yeah, or whatever it is. Might be feeling envy. I might be feeling angry. But then I've got all these reasons. And going into the head then, going into the rationalization, will take me out of the direct experience, just to be aware of that. So our practice is going to be, let me know this. What does anger feel like? This is the core, this is the mantra. Yeah. What does frustration feel like? And it doesn't mean making it bigger and heavier and more serious and, oh, I'm going to be weighed down and I won't even be able to breathe. Yeah, I'm not going to be suffocated. I'm going to be suffocated. It's not like that. We're positioning ourselves from a perspective of wisdom and seeing it for what it is. But in order to do that, I need to feel it. I need to, in a way, get on the inside of it, while at the same time maintaining a wise distance, if that makes sense. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about practice now. How we can do this, how we can be mindful of emotions. I've just got to sort myself out a little bit here. Yes. I wanted to give you an example of what I'm talking about with regard to strong emotions and also difficult emotions. And this is from my own experience of aversion to a particular person. Aversion, anger, and judging. So I had conflict with someone over a long period of time, and I found some safety in judging that person. That kind of was less risky than turning to what was going on for me, to turning to my own anger and aversion. But the thoughts about the object, the thoughts about the person, just kept fueling my anger. And I was quite fixated, and I was stuck in the aversion towards this person. I knew everything about the person, condemning them, judging them, knowing exactly why they were like they were. And that kept me occupied. It kept me from having to look at what was going on in me and not facing up to the aversion and the pain in my own heart. And in a way, that was much safer. Judging is a safe place. Got our finger up here and we know. So what I learned to do then, and this was absolutely liberating for me, was to unhook from the source or the object of my aversion and really turn to what I was actually experiencing, not what was triggering it. That was the whole story. I'd done enough of that, and I knew all about that, all about the person. But what does it actually feel like? Letting it be known in awareness, and then holding it in kindness, tenderness. In order to do that, we need to be in touch with our own vulnerability. which is a scary place to go. And there's a woman called Brené Brown who's done some fantastic research around vulnerability. But I think it's a very supportive way of owning our experience and meeting it with kindness. And then giving the experience space to be known and to change. So then we start to engage with our aversion, in my case, more as a dynamic process, and less, well, the source I've unhooked from, and less, it's about me. Less and less I'm identified with it. This space means I can see it as a conditioned arising, looking beneath the surface. This is this quality of the stone going down. So other ways we can practice with emotions, one of the most obvious ones is dropping down into the body. Is the emotion manifesting in the body? And just being with that, the actual physical sensations of fear or panic in the throat, tightness, as if you're tightness, you can't breathe, or the heart, or the shoulders creeping up, the back of the neck, hardness in the belly. We know it all. Another method that I've experimented with is giving it a name. So it's linking in again to work with Papancha. This is the worrying about attitude or story. This is the planning what I'll do after the retreat story. This is the I know why she doesn't like me story. So you can kind of give it a name, and in a way that also creates this distance, and we're able to then stay with, actually, what's going on? With regard to another one I know well is self-criticism, and self-judgment goes along hand in hand with perfectionism, which we talked about earlier in the week. You can create a figure, a sort of cartoon figure or a puppet of your own design that manifests this nagging self-doubt. With me, it's self-doubt, or it was a long time, it was self-judgment, not that I'm free of that. And just creating it kind of, in a way, it externalizes it, but I'm not cutting off from the experience itself. It's more like I'm able to see it in a different way. So with regard to my self-criticism, self-judgment, I created a kind of witch with like this big long nose, and she was a bit comical in a way. And she would just rise up like this whenever I found myself in this self-judging, self-critical mode, doubting myself. This witch would come up and I'd say, okay, we're off again. And it kind of brought in the lightness. And it took away some of the stickiness and the heaviness of being caught up in this. Another aspect of self-judgment is when things from our past catch up with us, and we get into, that was really terrible, and that was really awful what I did. We regret things genuinely we did in the past, but we can get caught up in the emotional weight of that. And here again, we can acknowledge it and then see, I did my best at the time. Giving ourselves credit for what we did well at the time. Apologizing if necessary, doing some forgiveness practice, confessing and letting go. These are all ways of working with emotions in a mindful way. With regard to strong emotions now, might be recurring emotion, the emotion behind recurring thoughts. And you notice that you get in touch with, there's some kind of perhaps fear, insecurity there. Here, it may not be helpful to actually go into the emotion. So we need to be very gentle here. Perhaps as we did yesterday, I think, in the metta practice, just breathing with the emotion. It could be too painful to go into it. So you might then go to a part of the body where you feel safe or that is pleasant. And also if there are strong emotions that you feel overwhelmed by, I can't go there, rather than cutting off, then you could also just let them be there and fill the mind with something positive. Reciting a mantra, sitting in the presence of a Buddha, Bodhisattva, calling up what one teacher calls a figure of love. You know, this figure of love that's, oh, it's got my back, it's there, it's holding me, I'm being held, and it's all right. Yeah. And perhaps another way is, if it's too difficult, too painful, instead of focusing on the emotion itself, focus on how you're meeting it. So am I meeting this emotion with aversion, with resistance, with denial? Am I rationalizing it or judging it? So become aware of the attitude to the emotion and know that you're aware of it. And that's the coming together of the knowing that we're aware, and knowing how we're aware. Okay. So I think we'll have a break now, and then after the break we'll do some practice with this. It's 10 to 12 now, so if we come back, let's say at, we'll start the meditation at 10 past 12. Okay, a couple of people not yet come back, but there's one. So I'll just tell you a little bit about the stages of this meditation we're going to be doing, which is mindfulness of emotions, mindfulness of mental states. And we will, after we've set ourselves up, we'll be entering entering via gratitude. And I'll actually say how we're going to be relating to and experiencing gratitude in the meditation. So that's going to be our doorway in, and then we'll spend some time allowing any emotional mental state that pops up to be there, and we'll be practicing with that. And then afterwards we'll just sit for a short while in open awareness. So before we start, just a word about guided meditations or led meditations. As with most things, some people really love them and other people find them a real bother. Yeah, talking all the time. And I think it's quite an art to listen to a led meditation, especially if it's a meditation that is a way of applying the teachings and not telling you what you should be experiencing, but it's an application of the teaching in direct experience, you could say. And what can make it more difficult is if you're trying to, with your mind, hold on to the instructions or remember them. Yeah, there's a grasping there, there's a reaching out. I want to remember that. Yeah, that was good. Or, oh no, I didn't like that. And then it's kind of, you know. And what's helpful is just to receive what's being offered with open curiosity and a willingness to try it out. And it's just now, you know, you've got all the time in the world to meditate the way you like to. But this is an offering, an experience for you to try out something and maybe learn something for yourself. Okay. So we'll probably sit, well, probably about 35 minutes. And as you might have noticed, I don't tend to ring a bell at the beginning of meditation because I think the way we prepare ourselves is already part of the meditation. Are we taking care of our body? Are we looking after ourselves? Yeah, checking out what does it need? And then entering into this meditation posture, whatever physical posture that is, just taking a moment to notice the effect, bodily composure. And then mindfully grounding and arriving in whatever way you find helpful. Giving it the time it takes for your body to settle and relax, for your mind, your heart to settle and relax. And then calling to mind a person that's helped you in your life, that supported you, that stood by you, that you felt seen by, loved by. Just feeling the gratitude towards this person. And it might help to think of why you're grateful to this person, or remember a situation or circumstances. Whatever will help you to connect more with a heart experience of gratitude. Perhaps you have a sense of the person's presence. Their presence in your life, whether in the past or in the present. And then very gradually let the reasons why you're grateful to this person, the circumstances, the situation, the story around it, let all of that fade into the background. Maintain your connection with the felt sense of gratitude. Keeping this alive for the moment. Wholesome mental state, nourishing and strengthening. What is your felt sense of gratitude? In the heart, in the body, in the mind. How is it showing up? What does gratitude feel like? What's its nature? Can I see it as a conditioned arising? Can it belong to me? And then gently allowing this encounter with gratitude to fade. Needn't disappear completely. It's a wholesome foundation for the meditation. Keep it as that if it's helpful. And resting in the heart's opening. Maybe a sense of warmth or joy that's come out of this exploration of gratitude. Peace. Just allowing it to be more in the background now. And then once again, grounding yourself. Returning to your anchor, if that's helpful. And relaxing the body, the heart, mind. Perhaps there's a kind of soft inner glow, a reverberation of gratitude. Feeling safe, feeling at ease and at home. Just being present. And then turning towards any emotion or mental state that's making itself known. It might be something quite prominent. It might be faint. Doesn't matter if it's wholesome or unwholesome. Whatever is there is worthy of our attention. Recognizing the mental state you're in right now, or the emotional flavor of your experience. What does it feel like? Can I befriend it? Get a bit closer. Be interested. Interested in it for its own sake. Not because of its implications or its meanings or its causes, just as it is right now in this moment of experience. Perhaps feeling it in the body. giving it a name as simply as possible. Meeting it with kindness. And if you get caught up in the source, in the story, then detaching, unhooking, and returning to what it feels like. What is the nature of this conditioned arising? Let me feel it. Let me know it in awareness. Is there identification with this present experience as me, myself? That's who I am, how I am. Is there an underlying storyline there? And then relaxing, allowing the mind to open out, to soften, Just being present now, not looking for anything, not needing to pay attention to anything in particular. It's open awareness. Just letting life play itself out at the 6 sense doors. Something appears and it changes and it passes away. So resting in awareness with a knowledge of change, impermanence, flow. Experiencing and knowing change, not clinging to anything. So I'd like to end this morning with another little offering. And this is an offering of a way of working with emotions, in particular strong emotions that I've found very helpful at different times. And I'll just briefly present this. Later on, I'll post a handout where you can just, with the main points on it. So perhaps, you've already had enough for today, so I don't need to take it all in right now if you can't. And I'm sure some of you will know this. It's an acronym, RAIN, R-A-I-N, RAIN. And the procedure here, which is being described in a way, is what we've just done. This is just putting it in a conceptual framework, which might be helpful for you to take on and apply or to play with. So the R for RAIN is recognizing what's there. Oh, restlessness. Oh, anger. Contentment. And according to neuroscientists, a different part of the brain is activated when we recognize something to when we just feel it. And so it's this, in a way, we become mindful then. And also a kind of spaciousness arises around the experience when we recognize it. Recognize it, and you might then just lightly name it. Oh, it's anger. Oh, it's sadness. And already something will shift in the experience. Secondly, the A could be acknowledging, allowing, accepting. I mean, don't get too tight around the vocabulary here. It is this way of relating, meaning not struggling with what's there. We quit fighting it. We quit fighting it, resisting it. And also we say no to the censorship that's coming in. Shouldn't be like this. I don't want this. It's not right. The I is for interest. Interest, investigation, sometimes it's called. And in a way, this is what we've just practiced. It's seeing or experiencing, getting closer to the nature of the emotion or of the mental state. And it's really helpful to shift our intention in meditation from judging to understanding. That's what we're doing here, really. Just instead of meeting it on the surface, I'm judging it, or I'm explaining it, or I'm interpreting it, I'm understanding it. And that is a wholesome state. And brings with it a willingness to learn. What is fear? What is frustration? So it takes on an onward leading potential for us. And we're feeling it in its direct manifestation. So interest itself is a wholesome state of mind. And then N, I'm sure you've all guessed or you know it, is the not identifying. It's not me, it's not mine, it's not myself. Sometimes this is described, the N is a natural law playing itself out. Due to causes and conditions, it couldn't be otherwise. This arising now, it's conditionality, it's praticca samutpada, becoming apparent in my experience. Yeah. So a natural law playing itself out. You could also apply the perspective, this is not exclusive to me. You know, it's just another way into the not me, mine. It's part of the human condition. Yeah, seeing it for what it is. It's anger, it's craving, it's dissatisfaction. Yeah. So you might find that helpful, and might like to play about with that a little bit with rain. It's a bit like the N, just thinking, is we're letting nature be our teacher, the nature of things. And you and I, we're just a manifestation of this natural process too. Yeah? All of us are, and our conditions. And yet, how often do we feel it's a mistake, something wrong, shouldn't be like that, or something wrong with me, of course. Yeah, it shouldn't be like that. We refuse to see that we too, with our inner processes and experiences, are just like nature, arising and passing. No different. A Zen teacher was asked, "Why are you happy?" And she answered, "Because of the wholehearted and non-remitting cooperation with the unavoidable." Because of the wholehearted, non-remitting cooperation with the unavoidable. Have a good day. See you later.